Online for Authors. I'm chatting with Richie Billing, author of Together We Rise. Welcome, Richie.
Thank you very much for having me, Terry. It's lovely to be chatting with you tonight.
It is super exciting to have you here. I enjoyed the book, which really
Oh, thank you
is
for
a
reading.
testament to you because I'm not a big fantasy reader.
Oh,
And
very
I'm not
nice.
a big like action adventure reader, and those two
Yeah.
kind of combined. And yet, I did enjoy the book, so
Oh,
I would
nice.
love to talk with you about it. But before we dive in, can you give my listeners just a quick idea of what they're going to find when they open up the cover of Together We Rise?
Well, it's quite interesting because it came out about nearly 18 months ago now. And I've had a bit of time to reflect on the story and how people have found it. Um, but what the story is, it's a very short tale about the day of a revolution in a city, and the government has been oppressing its people. It's a lot of the things that we can relate to in the real world, and it's designed to be a bit of a critique of the structures and societies that we're forced into. It's just rampant capitalism, and it's just very exploitative. But in fantasy, you can do things your own way, and it was a bit more extreme, but
Right.
almost mirroring stuff. And it tells the story of 8 individuals who were involved in their own way, and they almost like a short story. I find like each part is like a short story, and it tells their part of the day, and then it passes on to the next one, almost like a relay race.
Mm-hmm.
And it's designed to. It was a way for me to deal with a lot of frustrations with the world, and I get a lot of therapeutic benefits from writing. So I find this a great release, and I also wanted it to be a story that people can relate to, but also find like a bit of hope in it as well. Because at the moment, it just feels like it's going one way. I know, like everyone's on the knees, and you sometimes you turn to culture. I mean, there's so many distractions now with social media and these time sapping things like video games, which I do like playing video games, but they are a distraction.
Right.
And like a book is a way to hopefully connect with some people, and it's been so nice. Like I say, I've had a bit of time to reflect, and obviously chatting to you, I'm really excited to chat with you because as a writer, you want to create stories that people enjoy and they can
Right.
find something that they can relate to, or some kind of answer to what's going on, or a perspective that they may never have seen before
Right.
or appreciated. And yeah, I'm excited, Terry, to hear how you found the book.
Right. So I think I love fiction for the reason that it allows you to explore things that you might not otherwise get the chance to explore. You
Yeah,
know, be places that you can't be, see things that you can't see, do things that you can't do or won't do, but
yeah.
but you get to see them from that point of view, and that happened very much in your book. I think one of the things that surprised me so much was you have 8 characters. That's like a big undertaking to
Mm.
pull in 8 characters, and they were all well developed.
Oh,
You know,
thank
like
you.
I felt like I knew them in that short space of time. So you
Mm.
did a really good job with that. Um, I want to know, like, what made you say I'd rather do 8 individual characters than say I'm going to take one character and write one story about them?
Yeah,
How did that come to your mind? Because really, tackling 8 and
yeah,
doing 8 well is harder than doing one,
yeah. I
right?
agree. Yeah, I actually think for a story like this, it was necessary to do it. And it did originally begin as a story about one character, and that character's Tilia. And she has her own chapter towards the end, the revolutionary. But
Uh-huh.
the original story was taken from a novel that I wrote a few years ago, and it was always my favorite storyline about Tilia just getting really stuck in like a really bad situation, and just being at the very end of a tether, and she finds this spark which helps track down who killed her father and sets her on a bit of a path where she becomes a bit of a vigilante, a bit of a murderous vigilante. She is ruthless, but she's doing it for a good cause. I have this, like, I love heroic characters who you really like, but at the same time, they are
Shouldn't.
doing bad
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
They're killing
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
but you can't help but like them, because
Yeah.
I always feel like if you've seen what someone's gone through, or you understand what someone's gone through, you can always find that bit of relatability, even if they go on to. I always find the change and how they deal with it. It's so interesting. Just like a massive conflict within. So the story did begin with her, and I was like, well, I don't really want to write a novel. Too long.
I don't want to do it.
It's too much work. I went through a phase of just not liking writing novels, and I just wanted to do something short. And I wrote a novella before I did this, and a publisher had a little look at it and said, "Yeah, we really like it, but we want it to be a novel." So I was like, "All right, I'll make it a novel." And then by the time that I came back, they'd gone out of business. So I was like, I'm stuck with this novel now. I only wanted it to be a novella, and I've got this damn novel. So I got bored of that, and then I moved on to Together We Rise. But it's related, so that novel actually follows on from Together We Rise. So it will be worthwhile.
It will, no, I'm sure it will. And I understand that feeling that sometimes a novel feels like such a huge undertaking. And I often write short stories and flash fiction while I'm writing my novels, just so that I can be done with something.
Yeah, you need a break, don't you?
Yeah, it's like, put that novel aside, and I'm going to write a 500-word flash fiction for a contest. I finished it. Yay, me.
Yeah, it's great. You get these flashes of ideas, and like I say, you need something to break up the novel writing process, because it's just too much sometimes.
Well, it goes on and on and on and on and on.
But the reason why I went for 8 characters, because it is a bit of a mad one. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a TV show called The Wire.
No, I've not seen it.
Highly recommend it.
Okay.
Absolutely magnificent. It's like a novel on telly.
Okay.
And I'll tell you briefly what it's about. So it's set in Baltimore, sort of like turn of the millennium. And it's 5 seasons, and each season it dips into the perspectives of different people who are all caught up in the crime within the city. So season 1, it's the police, it's the drug dealers on the corners. Season 2, it looks at the docks and the dock workers, who are a dying industry, and what they're doing to try and stay afloat. Season 3, it introduces like children and the politics, and what they're doing. Essentially, the whole point of The Wire is it's a critique of the war on drugs, and it shows you the impact that it's had on society, and how it's divided society and created an us and them mentality between the people and the police. And it's just magnificently done, because what they do is they show all of these different perspectives. And even though a character might have, I don't know, over the course of the whole season, maybe 10 minutes of like screen time, what them writers do is inject them small bits with so much story, so much intrigue. And it was magnificent, because all them little parts, all them different perspectives helped you understand what was going on and why, all of the different aspects of the issue. And for me, if I'm going to critique something like capitalism and the structures of society, you can't just have one person's point of view.
Exactly. Yeah. Having one person's point of view, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't really get at the core of anything. But if you can see it from lots of different angles, then you get a more well-rounded picture. It's one of the reasons I love to write historical fiction, and I like to have at least 3 character point of views. Nice. And my reason for doing it, and I try to do it in a family setting, and like a grandparent, a parent, and then the grandchild. And you see whatever they see from these different perspectives, because age and experience changes how you view things, what you've lived your life through, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's a really natural way to see one issue from a lot of viewpoints, especially within the same family. And so you kind of did the same idea, but you took people from different walks of life, you know, in a factory, or who's a doctor, or who's, you know, revolutionary, or who's whatever, right? And they all have their own pieces and what they're seeing and how they are getting ready for this big day.
Yeah.
And what they know, what they don't know. And sometimes, you know, they don't know something because of another character, and you know they know it, but this character doesn't. And it's really very interesting. I found it to be really intriguing. I really did. I
I'm glad
that.
you like it.
Yeah.
Because I suppose it is almost like a collection of short stories. And each character it's quite contained, but there are crossovers, and you see characters come back, and there's threads that continue. But I kind of feel that, looking back now, the structure worked against me in a more commercial sense, because it is more of a literary structure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't like the story because they couldn't connect with a single character, even though there is, like, Talia's going through it.
Right.
She's in it quite a bit.
You know what I think? What I think is interesting, and I just had someone ask this question, and I was writing out my response to it, which is whether or not, as an author, should I be writing for, like, the literary awards, or writing for the commercial, you know, aspect. And for me, the answer is no.
Yeah.
For me, the answer is I write. I write because I have a story in my head that needs to come out, and I write it. And once it's written and it's out and it's done, then I worry about things like the commercial aspect of it. How am I going to market this? What am I going to say to get someone to pick it up, despite the fact that maybe they wouldn't normally pick up a set of short stories with 8 different characters? What am I going to say that makes them do that? You know, how am I going to get that out? And so, you know, maybe it did go against, you know, the commercial aspect of it, but I think it worked beautifully for the story that you wanted to tell.
Yeah. It's how I wanted to tell the story.
Right.
Right. And just out of interest, this is a question that I always like to ask readers: is, out of them all, who was your favorite?
Yeah. You know, I have trouble picking favorites, because I usually, my favorite is the one that I'm reading at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's true with books. It's true with characters. I think that I kind of liked the Doctor at the beginning.
Yeah. A lot of people like him.
Yeah. And I think it could be because he was introduced to me first, you know, and sometimes that does it. But I think that he just had a very different perspective. You know, he saw it from, he has this job to do, and this job that he does turns ugly a lot. And it turns ugly a lot because of this rampant capitalism, where people are more concerned with money than they are with their workers. And he's the one that kind of has to mop it all up in the end.
Yeah, a thankless job.
Yeah. And you often, or at least, you know, here in the United States, you look at doctors, and doctors are wealthy, and everyone wishes they were one, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. It's this, and in this case, it was a thankless, horrible job, and someone had to do it.
Yeah, the most necessary job.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah. So I think that's why I liked him, is because I saw what he was doing, and I was kind of like comparing it to the way I view a doctor and his job.
Yeah.
Right.
I quite like
they weren't the same.
Yeah, most definitely. And another thing I quite like about Dicey is, like, the counterweight to Talia. Yeah. So I think they have, like, a moment at the end of that first chapter, and you first see her, and she's a bit gung-ho. Like, obviously, like I mentioned before, she's a bit of a killer.
Yeah.
She's killed loads of people, and she quite enjoys it, because the reason she enjoys it is because all the power and control in her life was stripped away.
And this gives her power and control. Yeah.
When she killed that first person, she was like, she got it back. So it's almost like an addiction.
Yeah.
And so Dice is he's quite an important figure, and I like the way he rounds up the story. They have that scene at the end.
Yeah.
Won't give any spoilers
No,
away.
don't give any spoilers, but it's good, guys. So make sure that you read it. So then I'm going to ask you back, Richie. Who was your favorite character and why?
My favorite character, it does change. Like I really like Mal. So she's I think chapter 4. The Urchin is her chapter, and she's a character created in a short story years ago. This is like you mentioned, like writing short stories. A lot of the characters that I created 5 years ago had nice little places in this Together We Rise story. So Marla's in the pigeon catchers, and in that story, she's trying desperately with a brother to catch pigeons to sell to the little cheap cafes to like muster up a bit of coin so that they can buy medicine for the dying mother. And then as they come back with the money and the medicine, or I think they don't get the medicine actually, they just get the money. But the dad returns and takes the money, says that he's going to get the medicine for them, and then you never see him again, and the mum dies. Well, you find out later in Together We Rise that her mother dies, and sadly her brother dies as well, and she's just on the street, and she's just existing. And now she's working for drug dealers to try and make ends meet. So this is just normal in so many parts of the world. It's so normal for this to happen. And you put it in a fantasy story and it doesn't feel real, which is what you want, because sometimes you have to remove people from the reality so that they can engage with it a bit more.
Absolutely. So I do the same thing often. Like a lot of my books talk about racism or sexism or xenophobia or those kinds of things, but you can't talk about that in today's society without people like getting very offended and quickly putting up walls. But you can talk about it in the past. You can go into the past and talk about it. Well, what my hope is that if we're talking about it from the past and now as a reader, you're reading it, that you might get that thought, this is an awful lot like today, and you can start actually contemplating what's going on in the world today. So, yeah. And you did a good job with that, because I definitely did. As I was reading a lot, I was kind of thinking, kind of reminds me of a few things here, doesn't it?
I spoke to one person and she really related with the drug dealer.
Yeah.
And I found that interesting. And the reason why is she said because she'd been homeless and she'd felt the hunger.
Yeah.
And she knew what it felt like, or had to have that desire never to have that feeling again. And you can say even like the cruel people, you can understand why. Yeah. And I always love it. I always remember people always say, whenever someone's like, oh, society made me like this. And people would always be going, oh, don't be silly. That's stupid. That's a stupid thing to say. But there's a lot of truth in it.
I think there is a lot of truth in it. That's not to say that as people, we can't make changes. We can, but I do think that there's a lot of things that happen to people. And when they look around and they don't feel that they have any other choices, of the choices, people will often say, well, why didn't they do this? Or why didn't they do that? And it's like, that choice wasn't available to them at the time.
Exactly.
And so they looked at their available choices and they chose drug dealer, or they chose prostitute, or they chose whatever it is they chose. Right. And if they had been in a different set of circumstances, they would have chose something else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So I'm curious, are you what's known as a pantser or a plotter?
I like a bit of a middle hybrid type.
Okay.
He's
a hybrid, guys.
I started out as an intense plotter because for me, the plot was the best thing about the stories. Like all the stories I loved, it would be the plots that would stick in my mind. Like Lord of the Rings, you think about the big battles. And
right.
Like that. So I did plot a lot. But I became a better writer and became a bit more aware of storytelling techniques and why people read, why people engage with stories. I did shift that focus. The priority became characters. Yeah. And with characters, when you're drafting something, I find that you're getting to know them as well as tell the story. And you can't really plan too meticulously because you don't know. It sounds strange to say, you don't know how they're going to react or respond until you get into that, put them in that situation.
I know.
And it sounds very strange.
No, but I know exactly what you mean, because I'm very much a pantser and have been from the beginning. But I have tried plotting before, because I was under the impression that would be the better way to do things. And so I tried plotting, and then I would go to write, and I would have a character, and I always feel like they're sitting right beside me, like just right here. And I had this character pretty much tell me I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but see, I have it on my outline here. And so this is where we're going. And the character's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not participating in this at all. And it's like, oh goodness, now what do you do? And so I understand that feeling. It makes us sound nuts, but the characters really do kind of come alive in our heads. We have to make them alive,
don't we? We have to,
because if they're not alive for us, they're not going to be alive for the reader.
Yeah, exactly. And you want that air of unpredictability, I think, when it comes to storytelling, because if the reader can plot out the rest of the story, then there's no point.
It's not going to be any fun.
Exactly. Yeah, got to create intrigue, haven't we, and suspense and stuff, and
things that happen that you're not expecting. Characters to do things that you wouldn't have thought they might do, or be put in a situation that they would have never expected, and then you say, okay, now what are they going to do? And it's crazy, because I almost feel like I'm asking them, okay, now what are you going to do? I've just thrown you into this situation. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And you almost sit back and wait, like, what are they going to do? Like, what are they going to do? Yeah, it's very odd. But when you're talking to other authors, they always understand it. And when you're talking to people who don't write, they always look at me like I need medication.
Yeah. But still, like I say, I do like plotting, and I do like to at least loosely work out where the story's got to go, or potentially go. And I do take very loose structure. What I tend to do is just like bullet pointer, and just say, this is going to happen here, this is going to happen here. And then it might change. It might sort of loosely follow that. And one line could end up being 3,000 words. You know what I mean? So it's sometimes things just go their own way. And I think, as a writer, the best thing is not to get too fixated on doing it one way.
Yeah.
And just appreciate that the more you learn, the more you practice, the more your style is going to change. And you shouldn't be afraid to experiment, or, turn around one day and say, actually, I'm going to write it this way. Yeah. Just try as many different things.
Right.
Like you said before, write flash fiction, write short stories, write novels, novellas. Challenge yourself to write all different types of stories, all different types of lengths, and
try in third person, try it in first person, try it from multiple points of view or a single point of view. All of those different things really change how you write.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely. What do you want people to walk away with? They've read the book, and you say, if I could have my wish, people would walk away with what?
Do you want to come and read the next book, which is coming out?
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
It's the main thing is hope.
Hope.
That's the whole point of the story, I suppose, is that change is possible. Even these guys who are like living a pretty bad life, they can rustle up a bit of nous to challenge the powers that be. And that's the main thing. Just don't believe or never feel like you don't have the power to change even the world around you. And I think just keep fighting the good fight.
Fantastic. So you brought up what's next. Tell us a little bit about what's coming up.
Yeah, so obviously Together We Rise is quite heavy going. So I did get towards the end, I was like, I need a bit of light relief. So I started the fantasy comedy series called The Breakaways. And I've, over the probably last 6 to 12 months, been publishing chapters a week, breaking them up into different episodes or parts. And it's basically an ongoing story. I've got no intention of ending it. And it follows these 4 characters who are monster hunters in a fantasy world that's just overrun with monsters. And to try and deal with the problem, there's this bounty system being set up where like different crews go out and fight and deal with these monsters. Sometimes they have to trap them and get rid of them, or sometimes you have to kill them. And it could be like dragons, it could be drakes, goblins, all different types of things. And the Breakaways is the name of the crew who it follows, and there's 4 of them, and they used to be part of the best crew, the most famous crew, most successful, killed dragons and everything. But these were like the bag carriers, and they got fed up of being the lackeys, so they decided to break away and form their own crew. And it's just them just really struggling and failing and going through all the motions of trying to succeed on their own. And it's a bit like The Witcher with a bit of Terry Pratchett, Kings of the Wild. That's how I would describe it. So it's I've got like the first sort of volume 1 I've called it. It's a short novel, about 300 pages. So that's going to be coming out in November. It's going to have the audiobook built into the story, so you don't have to pay separately for the audiobook. And it's going to have all artwork by Thea Magarand, who's very talented, and she's going to create artwork for all the monsters that are in the story. So yeah, it's going to be a good one. I've been enjoying writing it. Like I say, it's a bit of comedy, bit of lightheartedness in this dark world of ours.
Yeah, no, I understand. Sometimes you do need to go light. My most recent novel was also a humor, because it was just like, I've got to do something funny. My world feels a little dark right now, so let's do something funny. Nice. Absolutely. Richie, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, talk with you about your writing, talk with you about things coming up, what's the best way to do that?
The best place to go is richiebilling.com. I've also very active on Patreon. That's one of the main places I do all the publishing now. And I've kind of dived into the TikTok craze, and I'm on there, Instagram, them kind of places. But yeah, the website's the best place. You can drop me an email.
Okay, fantastic. Guys, I will have that in the show notes so that you'll be able to click that. Definitely run out, grab a copy of Together We Rise. You're going to like it. It is heavy, but it's good. It's a good kind of heavy. It's the kind of thing that when you're done, there it is. Yeah, Together We Rise.
It's only a short. How short?
It's a short one. Yeah, you can do this. It was really good. You're going to like it. And then once you've read it, make sure you review it, because we definitely, as authors, love to get those reviews, and it definitely helps with things like Amazon. And Richie, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Fantastic questions. Lovely to chat with you.
Thank you for listening to Online for Authors, where I, Terry M. Brown, author of character-driven fiction and host of the podcast, introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. Tune in next Tuesday for another podcast episode.